Hello and welcome to Buddha and the Coach vlog powered by Soul Performance Academy. I am your host, Dan Mickle. The Buddha and a Coach is a weekly vlog dedicated to looking at the teaching of the Buddha in a coaching light. The Buddha and the Coach is proud to be sponsored by It's Called Normal Athletics. ICN Athletics makes the extraordinary ordinary through adaptive beach volleyball. Everyone should have an opportunity to enjoy and excel at that sport. And ICN offers the programs and the education to make it normal for adaptive athletes to play on any court. Help them make the beach volleyball court a place for everybody. For more information, please visit icnathletics.com, and you can also make a donation on their website to this 501c3 corporation. Again, thank you to Dave and John and everyone involved with It's Called Normal Athletics. They're doing some great things out there. Please at least check out their website. Give them some likes, some shares, and show them some love. All right, we are on to lesson 24 of Buddha. And in this lesson, the Buddha says, even death is not to be feared by anyone who has lived wisely. Now, I know this may sound a little bit morbid for a coaching context, but I like to just change the words death and lived with defeat and train. So even defeat is not to be feared by one who has trained wisely. And I think this is where we incorporate that into what we're talking about. And I think this is really a good lesson. And I have no doubt that the Buddha would have been an amazing athlete. Probably. I don't know. But seriously, one of the problems that we run into a lot is we are so focused on the outcome base and the wins and loss that we, before we even begin the competition, we go in at a negative position. We go in fearful we're going to lose. We go in fearful we're going to embarrass ourselves or not live up to expectations. We have that performance anxiety. And that's actually one of the things that I see the most with my clients right now is performance anxiety, as I think general anxiety is off the charts for numerous reasons. Obviously, the pandemic and all that helped accelerate it. But we were on this path long before that. And I think that's because we train too much to look at the outcome. We train too hard for those wins, the medals, the qualifications, whatever your situation is, that we're scared of it. And we're in fear of losing all the time. But if we take the time and train and really focus on what we're looking at, how we are improving, how are we getting better, what are we doing, then we don't fear the outcomes of that. Sure, it'll still sting if we lose a match, we lose a game, but we know that we trained and worked hard on it. And I think that's going to lessen that sting a little bit. And I get it. We can sit here and talk about it. Well, how do we train for that? What's the point of competing if we're not focused on those wins? But it really is about the growth. Even as you train as a professional, it doesn't even have to be in the sports world. In whatever career, you train to get better at your craft. And the rest will follow. You train wisely. And notice that I'm saying wisely and not hard. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you train wisely, then those small victories will turn into bigger victories. You no longer are searching for the wins, for the successes, because they're going to come because you're training wisely. And why do I choose the word wisely? It's because we see a lot of people, and again, in the coaching world and talking about athletics, and pretty much any sport, we see people that can train hard all the time. They're there early, they stay late, they put in a ton of work and effort, but they're not training wisely. They're just putting in effort. They're not looking at how they can grow and become better. They think because I show up and put in the sweat equity that that's going to translate into better performance. And that's not always the case because we're not training wisely. We're just going in there and looking like we're working, doing busy work, I guess, for lack of a better term. And part of that comes with we as a participant, not necessarily just the coach, but we as the participant in these sports need to know what we're training, how we're training, what our goals of the training are, instead of just going in there and saying, I want to be better, so I'm going to practice. I'm going to train so I can be better. I'm going to basketball practice so I become a better basketball player. That's great, but that's a little bit too broad, right? How are you training? What are you specifically working on? And here comes the broken record part. if you're not journaling and writing it down, how do you know you're getting better? How do you know you're improving? We skip such a key component to training, and that's logging and journaling and looking at what we are doing. And that's where it comes to those who train wisely, and this saying of the Buddha for me. That's how we train wisely. We train with a purpose, but we also train with a method to know that we're on path for our purpose, that we're doing what we need to do to reach the goals we want. And too many times we drop kids off at the gym, we pick them up after practice. Hey, well, how was practice? It was great. I worked hard. Worked hard doing what? What did you get better at? How did you leave the gym a better player than you walked in? And that's why we journal. We keep an eye on what we're doing. We can watch trends, but we see how we're progressing. We don't feel like it's wasted. We're just putting in this hard work and the time. We can see our progression. And then we don't have to fear defeat. Even defeat is not to be feared by one who has trained wisely. That's huge for me. We don't train wisely. We hope that our coaches and our instructors and those that are guiding it are doing that. But we can still help, and we still can keep an eye on it, and we can still do better by monitoring how we train. Every parent, every player I have that contacts me for help, one of the very first things I say are you willing to put in the work, even if it isn't in the gym? Are you ready to work on the mental game, but that's going to take some effort from you? And what I mean by that is you're going to be writing down some stuff. You're going to be journaling. If you're not ready to commit to the journaling aspect, I can't help you. Because I can't hope and I can't wish. I need a way for us to track and watch what we're doing. And that's why successful performers and athletes and business people do that. That's why they put it. It's not just about time management. It's about seeing where we're at, gauging where we're at, where we need to work. Sometimes we take steps backwards. Sometimes we have a bad practice. We have a bad competition. And we're so quick to think that you didn't work hard or you were doing something incorrectly. And sometimes they just happen. But when we continually journal and monitor what we're doing and we see it go up and up and up on the chart, we have those quick dips. We know that we're still in a better place than we were a month ago. Sure, it may hurt. It may feel like we're taking a step backwards, but it's probably a very small step backwards. And we're still trending upwards. But if we're not monitoring that or tracking, how do we know? We have to fight that critic in our head that's telling us we're no good, telling us that we don't belong there. And we do that by having proof. And the proof is in our journal when we say, this is how I'm training. I'm going to make these free throws. I'm going to make this serve. I'm going to hit this run. Because I've practiced for the last 3 weeks at this skill. I've put the work in, and I should expect success at this skill. I'm not going to wish for it because I know I've put the work in. Have it in front of me. I can see I did the work. So coaches and parents, that's what I'm begging you. If your player is struggling, even if they're not struggling, if they're just not doing it, get them to journal. Give them 5-10 minutes before practice. Give them 5-10 minutes after practice to journal. To write down what they felt they did well, what they did, what they're feeling emotionally. Because how they feel emotionally in that moment affects how they're training in that moment. And if they recall it days later, they may not have that emotion. So it may not seem like a big deal to them, but in the moment it was. That's how we train wisely. And when we train wisely, we don't have to fear defeat. Will defeats and losses come? Absolutely. But it won't be because you weren't prepared. It may be just the other team, the other person, your opponent is better than you at this moment. Now you have a gauge. You don't have to guess that you're getting beaten because you weren't prepared or working hard. You're getting beaten because they're better and you have to work to get better. You're not guessing what you did right or you did wrong. You know, I'll end with this part too. A lot of times I get calls from parents that my kid is a second string, they're a bench player. They work so hard. They go in and they work. They put the extra time in. They go to extra reps, extra practices. And my 2 points that are, one, what are they doing in those extra reps, those extra practices? They're just going into work? Because that's not good. They need to be focused. You need to monitor it. The other part is we also then assume that the people they're trying to beat out aren't working hard, that they aren't getting better. If your child or you are working hard, chances are the starters or the people in front of you are also working hard. You may not overcome that gap right away. It may take a while. But again, journaling and watching that is what can and will help you. So let's focus. Coaches, my goal is, how are you helping your players train wisely so that they don't fear defeat? And that's the lesson. Lesson 24, the Buddha originally is, even death is not to be feared by one who has lived wisely. And as the coaching side of it, I'm saying even defeat is not to be feared by those who have trained wisely. That's what we need to look at. Are we training wisely? Are we just going into the gym, doing stuff, hoping it gets better, putting in sweat equity, but for no reason, towards no goal, both as a team and individually? So that's what we need to look at. Let's start to focus on how we train wisely, individually and as a team. All right. I will see you all next week. Remember, you can always reach out to me across all social media at Real Dan Mickle. Please visit our sponsor, Soul Performance Academy, at 717 Soul, and it's called Normal Athletics, ICNathletics.com. Hit that subscribe button wherever it is. I'm still no good at this. Hit the like, hit the share. Let's have a conversation. Coaches, I would love to hear from you. How do you make sure that your team is training wisely? What do you have in place that works? Maybe we can help each other out, get some common practices and see. But I would love to hear more content, more thoughts. So let's talk about it. Peace, much love, don't suck. And remember, one day or day one, it's your choice of which way that is. See y'all next week for lesson 25.